Hey everyone, in this video we're going to talk about loops, specifically while loops in Objective-C. Loops help us deal with steps that repeat, and repeating steps are a universal thing in programming. So if you've had prior experience, you're going to be very familiar with the concept of loops. If not, sit tight and you should be a little more comfortable after these few videos. We're going to start here with two variables. We have gallons of gas, which is an integer, and full tank, which is an integer. Gallons of gas represents how many gallons we have in our car right now. We're almost out, we have one, and the full tank is how much our car can hold. So we're going to fill up, but we can only fill up 1 gallon at a time, let's say. So we're going to write a while loop. Let's type in while, I'm going to hit enter, and our condition goes here. So I'm going to say while gallons of gas is less than or equal to full tank. So as long as this condition is not met, we're going to keep executing the code in the loop. I'm going to start by having a log statement. Now, this just tells us how much gas our tank is holding right now. So if I was to run this, we would have something called an infinite loop because we're not actually increasing the value of gallons of gas. This condition will always be met and will never leave the loop. So our program would crash because it would just constantly stay in this loop. So I'm going to add something on top of this. I'm going to write gallons of gas plus plus, which is the increment operator. You can have it after or before. They mean slightly different things. Feel free to take some time to look up the difference between putting the plus plus before and after. It has something to do with timing the increment, and it can affect your code. So you can also have a decrement operator, but let's just stay with this. What this means is increase the value of gallons of gas by 1. There's other ways we could write this. We could write gallons of gas is equal to gallons of gas plus 1, or we can write gallons of gas plus equals 1. We're going to use the simplest statement, which is our increment operator, and let's build and run this and see what happens. I'm going to hide this panel over here. So we're increasing the amount of gallons of gas. So we're going to increase it and then print it out. So 2 out of 15, 3 out of 15, all the way up till 15. Actually, we have 16, so we have something called a fence post error. So something is happening here where we are adding an extra gallon of gas, and we don't want to do that. So let's get rid of this equal sign and run it again. So now we have 15 out of 15, so we're never adding extra because when we had the equal sign, even though it was equal to 15 was equal to 15, it executed the loop again. So be very careful of that, those fence post errors, and just make sure that you're checking to see if everything is going according to plan and you're not running the loop one extra time. Let's say we wanted to fill up 2 gallons at a time. We can use this plus equals operator. Send this to 2. You should see it increment by 2. 3 out of 15, 5 out of 15, so on and so forth. And even print outside of the loop that the tank is full. So just remember, the condition in the while loop, as long as it's met, we'll continue executing the code in the while loop. So as soon as that condition isn't met anymore, we'll exit the loop. I'm going to show you one other type of while loop. The other type in Objective-C is a do while loop. It's far less common, but it's still something you should know. What the do while loop is it's the same thing as the while loop, except it's always going to execute once regardless if the condition is met or not. So it'll execute once and then it will check the condition. So right now we're at 15 out of 15 gallons of gas. But if I said the same thing, gallons of gas is less than full tank, which we shouldn't even add another gallon because we're already full. But I can because the code is going to execute once before it even checks the condition. But it'll only run once because as soon as it checks this while condition, this condition won't be met and it will leave the loop. So I'm going to go ahead and comment this out so we don't have both running. Build and run it. And you'll see actually what happened is I'm still at 1 gallon of gas. So it's still doing this entire loop. I'm going to set this to 15 here so it shouldn't execute. Let's run it again. So 16 out of 15. So it's overflowing because it executed this code right here before it even checked this condition. So more often than not, you're going to see while loops and for loops, which are going to be what we're talking about in the next video. We're going to talk about for loops and some control flow statements, but you should know this do while loop. So in the next video, we'll talk a little more about loops.